Top Android phones from China are packed with spyware. What a surprise. Color me shocked.
You want to get that Huawei Mate Pro
Yeah.
12X.
So these are phones from mainland China, right? And I want to read some of the stuff that they collect. So listen to this.
Okay, listening.
If you're buying a phone in China, right? And by the way, before people jump on this and say, oh, this is only Chinese phones sold in China, do you understand a lot of these resellers where they're getting these phones from?
Yeah.
You understand, like, if you go on some of these, like, really ghetto websites, I shouldn't say really ghetto, like any reseller website or eBay or places like this, they're not only selling stuff that's authorized to be sold in the U.S.
No, of course
they have
not.
Connections to China.
It's like Temu.com or whatever. They basically drop ship this stuff here.
Yes, and this is what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So this was like a pushback I saw from the whole CCP sphere, was they're saying, oh, well, this is just phones sold in China, right? Well, yeah, phones sold in China and then sold abroad to resellers, right?
Yeah, of course they're sold here.
So the PII being collected includes pretty sensitive stuff, including basic user information like phone numbers, persistent device identifiers like IM, EI, and MAC addresses, advertising IDs, geolocation data, right, which obviously would allow an observer to unmask your physical location, data related to your social connections, right, such as contacts, their phone numbers, and phone and text metadata, right, in the study found. In other words, the recipients of this data would have a pretty clear picture of who is using a particular device, where they're doing it, and who they're talking to. Phone numbers in China are also tied to an individual Chinese ID, which meaning that it's inextricably tied to a user's real legal identity. So say for that, you would be potentially a victim of all the other data.
Correct.
That's just so par for the course for China, but it's not something that should ever affect people outside of China.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was all for Chinese phones when I was living in China. I thought it was a great idea. I could see a lot of the benefits of low cost but still feature-packed stuff.
Yep.
I bought Huawei and no, not Huawei. I bought Oppo phones and I bought Xiaomi phones. Remember, I gave some away and all that, and I was all for it. But the problem is, just how bad it's gotten.
It's turned very malicious.
Yeah, and they always you'd have to sideload them and basically crack them to put real Android on because they'd always have some crippled version.
Yep.
You couldn't have the Google Play Store on them and stuff because in China, Google's banned, right?
Yep.
So they were always crippled and they had homegrown spyware, bloatware on them. But it's just gotten worse and worse. I would never buy a Chinese phone now.
Yes.
Any kind of
Absolutely
Huawei,
not.
any kind of Xiaomi, no, not at all. In Australia right now, they've, let's see, the Australian government ordered the removal of security cameras linked to Chinese companies from government offices. So, in the government offices in Australia, if there's these Chinese security cameras, which are linked to the Chinese government, so HK Vision or whatever, they're
already been cut out for that.
Yeah, they're people know that there's security risk. So the Australian government's you know what? We have to remove any of these cameras from our official government buildings.
Right.
Okay? Doesn't that make sense?
Yes.
Because they've been proven
Ridiculous.
to be like spy cameras, that they can be. So what do you think China's response to that was?
Definitely nothing reasonable.
Beijing says, I quote, Australia's removal of cameras is an abuse of state power.
Bitch, it's not your state. You know what I mean?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
In a sovereign nation taking down our spy equipment, just like the balloon, right?
Yeah.
Is an abuse of your own power.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Exactly.
How do you even defend that?
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. So China's foreign ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning accused the Australian government of discriminating against Chinese products. We oppose erroneous practices of overstretching the concept of national security and abusing state power to discriminate against and suppress Chinese companies. Get bent. Those cameras have already been bought and paid for.
It's another great thing.
What? So what?
The U.S. is proposing some ban of CCP people from buying land, not buildings, land in America. And the official response was that it is an abuse of power and it goes against international laws. So If that's the case, then can I go buy a plot of land in China right now?
Nope.
No.
Not
So
even Chinese
shut
people
up!
can.
Stop!
Yeah, I know.
Don't just say shit.
This whole thing about abuse of state power for removing those cameras is rubbish.
Everything is rubbish.
I buy a Toyota and then I'm like, I don't want it anymore and I want to, get rid of it. And then the Japanese government's like, that's an abuse of something or other. It's rubbish. Seriously. China.
But the Toyota's watching you when you're naked in the shower.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. And that's why I don't want it anymore.
Yes.
I caught it doing that.
The Toyota's sneaking into your house, peeking with his
I'm
headlights, peeking around the
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out that it's tied to the Japanese government. And I'm like, I don't want that
and
Toyota
the Japanese
anymore.
government's making porn out of you in the shower.
I'm like, enough.
Yeah.
No more
Enough.
Toyota. I'm going to go buy a Ford or something.
Yes.
And they're like, that's an abuse of state power. Like, dude, it's mine. I paid for it.
Right.
Same thing. The Australian government bought those cameras. They paid for it. It's not an abuse against anything.
No.
It's like, get that shit out of here. We'll put something else.
Yes. I just don't even know anymore.
It's just ridiculous. They're trying to use these psychological tactics as if it's somehow discrimination to care for your national security interests.
Apparently that's bad.
Yeah, it's discrimination against, China.